Hi, it's Kristen here at UT Southwestern, and I'm excited to be here today with Dr. Lona Sandin to talk about what should be on your plate in 2019. So Dr. Sandin is director of the Master of Clinical Nutrition program, or the Clinical Nutrition Coordinated program here at the UT Southwestern School of Health Professions, and she's also has more than 20 years experience of leading fitness and wellness classes. So we're super excited to have her. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
It should be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of questions. We had some that were submitted earlier. Just make sure you like and you share the conversation. We want to spread as wide as we can, and just leave your questions in the comments field. So we'll start with one that we got in advance, and it deals with New Year's resolutions. You know, if somebody wants to make a resolution this year to eat better, what are some ways to go about that?
Well, Kristen, I have 3 tips.
Mm-hmm.
1, be realistic, be sustainable, and focus on the positive. By realistic, I mean set goals and resolutions that you know you can achieve. So instead of swearing off all sugar completely, how about set a goal to just reduce your sugar, maybe by having a few less desserts each week.
Okay.
And by sustainable, I mean choose goals that you can keep all year long. Something that doesn't require you to have to plan a lot or go to special grocery stores or things like that. Something that you can do over and over again. And then focus on the positive. So look at how you can put good healthy foods into your diet. When you focus more on positive changes, things that make you feel good, it's easier to do and stick with that new behavior than when you're focusing on the negative and thinking about things that you might be feeling deprived of.
Gotcha. So big one, be realistic.
Be realistic, sustainable, and focus on the positive.
Okay, good advice to get us started. So we've had lots of other questions come in, and one of these, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, diabetes, and Jeannie reached out and said, you know, my husband is diabetic, and she admits to not being a great cook. That sounds like me. And her question is, what should somebody who's diabetic be eating that wouldn't negatively affect their blood sugar, but would help them lose weight?
Well, first of all, I want to say, you don't have to be a superstar chef to put a healthy meal on the table or a nutritious meal on the table. Second, with something like diabetes, I would say go back to your physician and ask your physician for a referral to a registered dietitian so you can get very specific, individualized advice for what their needs are. But I can give you some general advice in terms of how to manage your diabetes by just some basic eating principles on a day-to-day basis. One of those pieces of advice is to balance your meals. So by balanced meals, I mean have some protein, some healthy carbohydrate, and then add non-starchy vegetables to the meal to make up the rest of the meal. So that you have protein and carbohydrate paired together will help to manage those blood sugar levels. So that's one tip that you can do. The other thing you can do is manage your portion sizes. So anytime you're having portion sizes that are larger than what you need, you're setting yourself up for higher blood sugar levels. So keeping those portion sizes in check. And if you're someone, maybe she's just cooking meals for just her and her husband, so sometimes it's harder to cook smaller recipes. But one of the things you can do to help keep those portion sizes in check is to take advantage of some of these pre-prepped, pre-portioned items that are now available in the grocery store. So now in most grocery stores, you can find meats or fish that are already pre-cut and pre-seasoned, and they usually come in packages of 2 or 4 servings. Take them home, put them in the pan. There's your lean protein to go with your balanced meal. The other thing to do is simply replace high sugar foods with lower sugar options. So maybe instead of doing the chocolate cake, you might have a bowl of fresh raspberries with just a little bit of chocolate syrup sauce drizzled on top.
So you still get some chocolate.
You still get some, but you're getting that healthy high fiber fruit instead that will help manage your blood sugar.
Good to know. Really great question, Jeannie. Thanks for asking. So we've got a whole lot more coming in. This is great. Keep them coming. Here's a first one from Carter, and we kind of joked on this a little bit, but what are your thoughts on the keto diet?
Well, the keto diet can be highly restrictive, especially if you're doing it the way it's intended to do. So a keto diet is largely a protein, high-fat based diet. So you can be getting a lot of excess fat that is not necessarily heart healthy. And then you're cutting out essential vitamins and minerals that are found in other food sources, such as dairy foods, whole grains, and some of your starchy vegetables that offer us a lot of nutritional benefit. So you could be coming up short on a lot of good nutrition. One of those key nutrients is calcium. So we know a lot of people are already at risk for osteoporosis and poor bone health. So when you go on keto diets or other fat diets that cut out dairy foods, you can be setting yourself up for greater risk of osteoporosis and bone fractures.
Okay. So maybe shy away from that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here's a different question from Charlene. And this is interesting because she says a recent UT Southwestern news release showed how inorganic phosphate can affect your activity levels and maybe make you more of a couch potato. And her question is, how can we consume less of that?
So inorganic phosphates are actually found in a lot of our pre-prepared, pre-packaged foods. They're typically food additives, like disodium phosphate you'll find in the ingredients list on a lot of pre-prepared, pre-packaged foods. And so how do you shy away from that? Well, you eat less of those, and you get back to a whole food diet. Because our organic phosphates are found in our whole natural foods, our dairy foods, our fresh meats and fish, not the deli meats with the additives in them, but the fresh ones that come from the butcher counter. And then, of course, whole grains, fruits and vegetables. Well, fruits and vegetables have really low phosphorus in them altogether, but whole grains can have phosphorus in them, but it's the organic form. So getting back to a whole food diet and away from those pre-prepared items that have the additives. And sodas. So sodas are a big culprit of inorganic phosphates. Or any kind of colored beverages you might find out there where there's orange coloring or yellow coloring. Those are likely to have inorganic phosphates added to them.
Okay, good question. And I love how you tied in the research. So here's a different question we have. Are there certain vitamins or supplements that you recommend taking daily?
Again, this is a very individual issue as to what someone might need to take extra. So I would ask your doctor for a referral to a registered dietitian, or ask the doctor themselves, is your health condition something that might benefit from having additional vitamins and minerals? For example, maybe you are diagnosed with osteopenia, and so in that case, taking a calcium and vitamin D supplement every day could be beneficial for you. Or maybe you have high cholesterol levels and high triglyceride levels, so maybe taking a fish oil capsule would be of benefit for you. There's no one blanket recommendation. It should really be evaluated on an individual basis.
Okay. All right, great question. Definitely, so contact your physician and see what they recommend based on your personal
and get a referral to a registered dietitian to really evaluate what you're taking in your diet already to see, do you really need additional calcium? Do you really need additional B12 or vitamin D or whatever it might be? Depending on your age and maybe your health condition, you could benefit from some of those supplements.
Okay, good to know. So here's a question from Ellen, and I hear people talking about this all the time, and she asked, would you recommend intermittent fasting? I hear people do that all the time. Is it a good idea?
So there's all sorts of rules around intermittent fasting, and depending on which intermittent fasting book or article you read, you may do 2 days on, 3 days off, or whatever. So they can be highly variable. What the research shows is really kind of the best intermittent fasting is to fast overnight for about 12 hours. So stop eating at 6, don't eat again until 6 a.m. Our body does need a break from food. We are not intended to constantly have food coming in like many of us kind of do, because we have so much easy access to food all day long. And so really the best thing that the research really supports at this time is that 12-hour overnight fast. And we see better outcomes in terms of cholesterol and triglyceride levels, controlling blood sugar in people with insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes might do better with that 12-hour fast overnight. So there are some health benefits to it.
Okay, good question, Ellen. So we have a stream of questions coming. This is great. Keep them coming. Here's one from Kevin, and this is kind of a funny one. It's, despite numerous books and wives' tales, does chicken soup have any medicinal value toward healing?
Well, it actually just might. One, it's just good for the mental aspect of healing. Mm-hmm. It's comfort. It makes you feel better when you're not feeling so well and you're a little bit under the weather. Mm-hmm. But funny enough, there actually are a few studies out there looking at chicken soup as a remedy for colds. Mm-hmm. And it appears to do something. Mm-hmm. Just exactly what it's doing, we don't know. Could it be an amino acid that's in the chicken broth? Who knows? But there's a handful of studies that have actually evaluated this and does show some benefit to perhaps having some chicken soup when you're feeling a little under the weather. Yeah. And if it doesn't do anything physically, it might do something mentally, and that just makes you feel better anyway.
Okay. Good question, Kevin. We're glad you joined us today. So here's a question from Crystal. And this is another pretty common question, but it is, are nutritional needs different for people over 50?
And the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. So yes, as we age, we do require additional nutrients, of specific nutrients. Calcium is one of those, vitamin D is one of those, and vitamin B12 is another one. There is also a good body of research demonstrating that protein needs may go up or be increased for people over 50 as well to help maintain lean muscle mass over time.
Okay, good question, Crystal. This is taking a different approach, and I think it's getting toward your wellness background. And do you have any health apps such as MyFitnessPal or others out there that you'd recommend either to count calories or store health data?
So, oh gosh, there's a ton of apps out there to choose from. One program that I'm familiar with is called MyNet Diary, and so that helps you track your food intake. FitnessPal is probably one of the most popular that is out there that I see a lot of people use. Livestrong also has an app that seems to be pretty popular among folks as well. And then there's online, My Food Record is another one that I've seen. That helps you evaluate your food intake.
Okay, we'll go through after the chat and include links to some of these if we can find them. And it's a really great question. A lot of people try to do things on their phone and online. Makes sense. All right, good question. So we've got more in here. Veganism. Here's a question about that. Are there any health concerns that come with a vegan diet?
So there are some health concerns that come with a vegan diet. And again, it goes back to possible nutrient deficiencies that can occur with a vegan diet. So when you're choosing vegan, it is completely non-animal based versus vegetarian. Vegetarians may still eat some animal-based products such as eggs or fish or milk and cheese. When you're going straight vegan, you cut out those foods. So again, you can come up short on B12. So it's hard to get B12 on a vegan diet. And so that can affect your ability to utilize your nutrients, particularly the carbohydrates that you take in. And so I do recommend, if people are following a very strict vegan diet, that they might want to take a B12 supplement, regardless of their age. Also, because you cut out dairy sources, you're coming up short on calcium and vitamin D on a vegan diet. It's very hard to eat enough broccoli to get 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams of absorbable broccoli every day.
It is.
So it's tough to get enough calcium on a vegan diet. So again, calcium and vitamin D supplement might be something someone who's following a vegan diet would want to try. If they're consuming something like soy milk or almond milk or some of the other plant alternative type milks, they want to make sure they're calcium and vitamin D fortified.
Gotcha. Okay, well, this is related. There was a question that came in just after that one from Tony asking specifically, will vegans become sick if they don't take B12?
Well, They could, yes. They potentially could have some deficiencies and experience some side effects, particularly low energy levels is what they might experience. You might also see someone with B12 deficiencies. Their nails may become
brittle,
deformed or brittle and kind of rigid, and that would indicate a deficiency. So yes, there could be potential health problems by having a B12 deficiency.
Okay, good question, Tony. So here's a different question from Ellen, and we're getting to vegetables specifically. And she wants to know if there's a difference in terms of getting your nutrients from eating raw vegetables or blending them.
So you might actually get more nutrients from a blended vegetable than a raw vegetable.
Oh, wow.
And the reason is when you take a vegetable, let's use broccoli for example, and you blend it up, you break down those cell walls.
Oh.
It's very similar to chewing the broccoli.
Right.
So you really don't need to blend it, you can just chew it really well.
Yeah.
But you break down some of those cell walls and it's easier for your body to then absorb the nutrients out of the cells of the broccoli. You can also get more nutrients out of vegetables if you cook them a little bit. Now, you don't need to cook them to mush. You just...
Many of our grandparents did.
Yes. You just heat them gently or steam them gently in the microwave for a minute or two. And that's enough, again, to break down those plant cell walls to make it a little bit easier on digestion in the body. And there's even some vegetables and even fruits that when you heat them, it unlocks the potential of other vitamins and minerals. So lycopene is a prime example of that. It's an antioxidant that's found in tomatoes. You get more lycopene out of tomato sauce than you do a whole tomato because of the cooking and heating process.
I love raw tomatoes.
Raw tomatoes are great. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat them, but have your raw tomato on your salad, put some good marinara on your spaghetti.
Okay, that's the deal. Great question. Thanks for bringing that up, Ellen. Here's a different question. We're kind of going all over the place, but this is from Charlene, and gets to your fitness background. What are your thoughts on high intensity or circuit style workout classes? Can you get similar results from regular lower impact exercises?
Well, high intensity interval type training is going to give you your most bang for your buck if you can do it. So again, it comes back to what is your functional ability and how fit are you? How hard can you go? And I would say you shouldn't do high intensity interval training every single day. You're going to wear the body out. It's going to be hard for your body to recover. And so you do want to mix it up. So maybe you do high interval training 2 or 3 times a week, and on those other days you do something more low intensity or moderate intensity that is just steady state exercise to mix it up so you allow for proper muscle recovery in between those high intense workouts.
Okay, good to know. Great question, Shirley. Here's one from Refty, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. It's a great question. Is cooking vegetables on high heat, does that reduce or kill the nutrients?
If you keep them extended in the high heat for a long time, yes, you can do some damage to the nutrients. Antioxidants found in vegetables are highly heat sensitive. And so again, you don't need a long cooking time with vegetables. You just need short exposure to heat. Stir frying is a good example. If you're doing stir frying correctly, which I never really do, you are supposed to have the pan on a very high heat or the wok on a very high heat so that the vegetables go in and you constantly stir so that they're not sitting on the heat being damaged, but they're heating up just enough to make them a little bit soft. And that's how you want to do your vegetables. If you saute, then those vegetables are a little bit longer in the pan, and you might be getting more damage to some of those heat-sensitive antioxidants.
Okay, so doing stir fry the right way sounds like the best option.
Stir fry the right way, or microwaving for 1 or 2 minutes, where you're just steaming, where the heat is from the steam of the water, rather than cooking high heat with the vegetables sitting against the heat of the pan for an extended period of time.
Gotcha. Great question. Thanks for bringing that up. And we're about 20 minutes into our chat already, so we don't have a lot of time left. We'll take as many more questions as we can get to, though. So here's a great question from Sophia. And we haven't touched on this yet, but what are your thoughts on the paleo diet, and would you recommend it for kids?
So the paleo diet can be a healthy diet. Again, it depends on whose paleo rules you are following. So if you go out and start looking for information on a paleo diet, you're going to find a lot of conflicting information, actually. So some paleo diets will tell you to steer completely away from grains and legumes. Others will allow some of that, and some will disallow calcium or milk type foods on the diet. But you can make the paleo diet a relatively healthy diet or a health promoting diet. It promotes lean meats, which is good for anybody. It promotes the increased intake of vegetables, which is good for anybody, and allows for fruit. But make sure you're getting a source of calcium and some whole grains for added fiber into the diet as well.
What about the kids? Does it matter for children? Is it a good idea?
With kids, it could be a healthy diet for kids as well. You just need to make sure they are getting enough calories. So kids need twice as many calories per pound of body weight, just about, than an adult. And so you need to make sure they're getting enough calories when you're doing some kind of meal pattern that may be more restrictive than other meal patterns. Right. Again, kids are growing, so they need adequate protein. Their bones are building, so they need all the nutrients that bones need for building, and that's protein, that's calcium, that's vitamin D, that's vitamin K, that's magnesium. It's things that are found in all of our whole foods. That's why we recommend going back to kind of that basic 4 food group with kids.
Okay, good question, Sophia. Thanks for bringing it up. Looks like somebody's having some audio issues. We're working on it. Hopefully, you might try turning up your speaker. We have 2 questions that we have time for. Here is one of the last ones. There's one from, I'm not sure who this is. I can't read their name. I apologize. So they've said that the World Health Organization has classified processed meat as a carcinogen. Should we really never eat bacon and deli meats?
Oh, well, bacon. I hate to say never eat bacon because people will be really mad at me.
Yeah.
But yes, these are foods that I would classify as sometimes foods, not everyday foods. So there's a lot of nitrates and other additives found oftentimes in these foods that do appear to increase some cancer risk, particularly colon cancer risk. So I wouldn't say you can never eat bacon, but this is something that maybe not an everyday food, maybe once a week.
Okay. You just broke my children's hearts. They would eat bacon every day.
So would my niece. She can eat a pound of bacon in no time.
It's impressive. All right, we're running out of time, but here's a question from Christy. And we talked about how to cook vegetables a little bit ago. Her question is roasting vegetables an okay method for nutritional value?
Yes, roasting is another option. Again, roasting is typically done at a relatively low temperature in the oven. And so you're not just burning the heck out of your vegetables. Right. You're heating them slowly, and so it does preserve some of the nutrient value of your vegetables when you roast them that way. It also puts a little sear on them and adds to the flavor.
Okay, good question, Christy. So last question, I'm going to take a liberty, and it's my question. Are there certain foods that people should be eating every day?
All of the good ones. Again, it's hard to recommend just specific foods. No single food is a superfood that's going to cure everything for your health. So you do want to make sure you're getting something from the whole grain group, something from the lean protein group, something from the dairy, and so on. If I just look at my own diet, or what are some key foods that I tend to eat on a daily basis, it's oatmeal, whole wheat bread. Olive oil is always almost on something on the daily menu. Peanut butter, walnuts. I have an apple just about every single day. So again, it's going back to making whole foods the basis of our meal patterns on a day-to-day level.
Okay, that's very helpful. And I changed my mind. We're going to take this one more question that came in from Ellen. We have a couple minutes. So this is from Ellen, and without saying a brand, but what salad dressing would you recommend for a healthy salad?
I would recommend something that is olive oil and vinegar based. so that you're getting the benefits of the heart healthy oil from the olive oil, and then the vinegar adds flavor without adding fat. And then whatever spices or flavorings you want in that, so whether that be something like a raspberry vinaigrette or more of an Italian vinaigrette, that's up to personal choice. But going with some type of vinaigrette, olive oil and vinegar-based dressing is my recommendation. They also tend to be lower in salt than your creamy-based dressings.
Okay, good question, Ellen. I think that's a great way to wrap up our chat because we're all out of time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Definitely thank Dr. Sandin for joining us. And don't forget, this chat will be available here. We'll also share it on our YouTube channel later today. So if you have friends that aren't on Facebook that you think might want to watch it, share it from that platform. And in the meantime, we really appreciate all of your time today and hope you have a wonderful weekend.